So you want a Volkswagen BuG. You're dying to jump back into your youth, the nostalgia, the history, the family memories that you had with our little beloved Beetle. And yet you think you could jump right in and everything's going to be fine and dandy, right? You had one 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50, 60 plus years ago. It's been in your family since, and you remember those days going out for ice cream, going to the playground, going cross country, ditching school, getting some beers with your friends, hanging out at the lake with the Beetle. You might hit a pothole. You might have an oil leak. You might have to rip the engine out at the side of the road. Yeah, just drop it right on that tire. I've heard those stories before, guys. And you remember those days and how wonderful it was. And it was so simple. It was just so nice, right? Well, I got to say, we live in different times today, okay? We have creature comforts today. We have technology at our fingertips with our phones, our laptops. And we got things delivered to us in an instant. Amazon Prime, anybody? eBay. You know, you can place an order. Whatever pops into your mind, it could be anywhere. You can place an order and it'll be here in a few hours or tomorrow or whatever the case may be. You drive new cars today, they drive themselves. They park themselves. They got heated seats. They got heated steering wheels. They assist you when turning and going to turn lanes. You know, we are spoiled, really, in relation to, say, a vintage Volkswagen. So you want to get back into a Beetle, and there's some things you should know. Now, I did a video 10 years ago on what to look out for before buying a BuG, and that is very still relevant today. It talks about the rust areas, where to look on the car for the potential cancer areas, structural areas, where to find the VIN tag, the VIN numbers, all that kind of thing, checking your engine, all that kind of stuff. But this video I'm going to do, it's more going back to, say, common sense maybe, and just giving you a little of a harsh reality when it comes to jumping into these cars, because I think we have a little bit of an amnesia that's out there. People want to jump back into these cars, but they don't necessarily remember how primitive they still really are, because we are spoiled today with our cars. They're very comfortable today. You can hit a pothole or a bump in the road and you might not even feel it because the suspension is that good. You know, when you close those doors on cars today, the sound, the cancellation of sound is wonderful. You jump into a Beetle, it is noisy. You know, it's got a very hollow feeling to it. You know, you're in an eggshell. And to today's standards, it's pretty primitive. So a couple things I want to just point out to you. It's a short list. It might not be everything that you agree with. And if you want to add to my list, please, you're more than welcome to down below in the comments section. So let's get to it. Volkswagen 101. What you need to know before jumping back into a Beetle, or if it's even your first car as a young kid. We got it at our fingertips, guys. Do your homework. The technology is there. The information is there. YouTube is there. I have videos out there, and there's plenty of other Volkswagen channels out there that have how-tos on repairing your Beetle. And there is no excuse anymore. You got to do your homework. There's a ton of literature. There's a ton of books. And you have Facebook VW groups out there. Definitely get on those groups. Talk to those people. Okay? There is no excuse today. You need to do your homework. And you might have been handy back then and you were a rebel and you didn't mind getting your hands dirty or getting cut up. But, you know, it's a good refresher to go back and do your homework. The next thing I would say is get handy again. Learn to use tools again. If you haven't worked on cars or worked on anything as a hobby or even, say, building a go-kart, okay, get handy again. Get to know your wrenches, your sockets, your drives, screwdrivers, all that stuff. I know it sounds so basic, but get to know tools again, because we're jobbing things out now. We hire people to do things. We used to cut our lawns back in the day, but now we hire people to cut our lawns. You know, I don't see anybody, a homeowner anymore, actually cut their lawn anymore. It's really funny. So get handy, that is for sure. The next one I would say is you got to drive the VW. We're living in a world today, again, we're shopping, right? So I would say when I started on eBay, over 15 years ago, it was still pretty early in the scene where cars were going for sale online, and you were buying these cars cross state lines and buying a vehicle prior to driving it. It was unheard of. You know, I have a friend of mine that's been in the car business for, 30, 40 years, and he's like, how do you buy a car without driving it and feeling it and touching it? It does help, guys. So if you can buy a Volkswagen locally, I would do that. If you cannot, you need to send somebody out there probably to drive it for you and give you a write-up on the condition of the car. I have people that are buying these vehicles, and then they're coming back to me saying, Chris, I can't believe it. I'm remembering now how harsh these cars are when they drive on the road compared to today's cars. You hit every little bump. If you got bias tires on the car and you hit a crack in the road, the car's going with the road, right? It's going with that crack. It's noisy. It doesn't get as hot. If the heat's not hooked up correctly, you can really get cold in a Beetle. But you need to know this. I've had buyers within the past couple of years that are basically having some form of amnesia when it comes to getting back into these cars. They just, once they start driving, now they're like, oh my God, it's coming all back to me what it was like. And it could be a harsh reality sometimes because you're used to the creature comforts today. So there's no power steering, there's no power brakes. You are really feeling the road. And of course, there's no airbags. Some of them don't even have a 3-point seatbelt. So it would be wise of you before buying to go back into the car and say, okay, yeah, you're hot on it, you want to have it, but get driving it because it's a stiff car. It's not as agile and maneuverable as some of today's cars. So definitely another one to think about. So the other thing I would say is join a club. There's a lot of Facebook user groups out there, Volkswagen groups. Join those clubs and see if there's anybody in your immediate area that has a club or just people that you can associate with through the internet, maybe even through a Zoom conference or something like that. And get to know people, speak to people face to face too. We need to get back to the real human nature of speaking eye to eye, frontal lobe. Because the comment sections on some of these forums and on the Facebook forums or the Samba forums, and everybody's bashing one another. No one would bash anybody this way if it was all face-to-face. So I encourage you, go back to our roots and talk face-to-face to people and get to go to a car show with your BuG, or before even buying a BuG, go to a car show, a VW show, and talk to people and touch these cars and get personal again. So the other thing is too, it's becoming more and more rare. Find a mechanic. I know in my area here, we are probably one of the only, if the only shop that could do, say, a mechanical repair on a Volkswagen. Most of the shops across this country are guys that did work on these cars. They're getting older. They're retiring. They're dying off. So their knowledge of these cars is dying off. So, we live in a world today, you might go to a newer mechanic and they tend to look into things way too deeply. Keep it simple with these Volkswagens, guys, because they were simple back then. And that's the beauty of these cars, is that they are technically simple to work on. The research, the information is there. If someone's giving you a big roundabout explanation on a repair, you're looking into it too much. So definitely think simple, and especially when you go online too. So when you do your homework, you're going to find forum pages upon pages just on oil or what people are putting into these Volkswagens. And I keep it simple with oil, guys. That's just one example. Basic 1030 weight oil or straight 30 weight oil that we put in it here. The oil, even the cheapest oil today, is better than the oil that was offered back in the day, and these cars ran. So you don't have to think too much into oil. Gas, I use 87 gas, and the cars run fine. If you want to go to 97 and test it out, that's fine too. But one guy gave me a good tip. My good man Herman, German guy, worked on Volkswagens for years, gave me a good tip. The freshest gas is actually the 87 gas. Most people do not get 97 gas, so you do not know how old that gas is in underground. When it's sitting in there, and it's, again, the gas today's got ethanol in it. And what happens? It gets stale. So go with the freshest gas. If you don't hear any pinging, you're good to go. 87 gas is fine. So just try to find a mechanic, or again, try to find a club, that can get you on your heels before purchasing a Beetle. And I said it before, this is the last one. Keep it simple with these cars. Try not to overthink them. Okay? They were meant to be simple. They were meant to be point A to point B driving. All right? You will feel the road with this. You're going to feel every crevice, every crack, every bump. It's going to be noisy. It could be loud. You might not have heat. Okay? The shifting might grind a little bit. You might have trouble getting it into gear or something. You just got to understand that these are old cars, 40, 50, 60 years old. So jumping in them is not going to have the creature comforts of today. So that's that video, guys. Volkswagen 101. If I left anything out, leave it in the comment section below. I wanted to bring this video out because the last year or two, it seems like people are jumping into them because, again, it's a shiny object. It's bringing back memories, and that's fantastic. I love that. But when they're getting into the car for the first time and they're going for a drive, they're calling me up saying, is it supposed to do this? Is it supposed to do that? You know, what kind of gas do I put in? What kind of oil do I put in? How often do I do a tune-up? How often do I do a valve adjustment or an oil change? What kind of oil? All those questions, which are all answered in my videos. I have a VW for Dummies videos that you guys can check out. So definitely check that out. I'll link that right here too. And again, the literature and the videos are out there, guys, on what to do. So you got to do your homework here. It's just, you know, just one of those things. So I want you to enjoy your Volkswagen. I want everybody to keep these cars alive and do not put them down right away just because maybe we've been a little spoiled over the years. So, all right, guys, take care.